Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jennifer Lundy. I'm a marketing manager in the Global Sales and Marketing Division at Livingston International. We've booked 90 minutes with you to provide you with an overview of the USMCA verification process and requirements training for Costco suppliers and buyers. The presentation will be followed by a period of questions and answers at the end. Next slide, please. I would like to start by taking a brief moment to introduce Livingston. For those of you who do not know us, Livingston International is the largest customs broker in Canada and the fifth largest entry filer in the United States. Over 30,000 companies trust Livingston for anything from customs brokerage to their consulting and freight forwarding needs. We continually invest in our people, such as our speakers today, and also in our technology solutions, such as Livingston Portal, to give our clients the edge in today's highly competitive marketplace. For more information, you can visit our website or join our conversations on LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. Next slide, please. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the questions box in your GoToWebinar control panel, which is located on the right-hand side of your screen. Just expand out, type your question, and we'll be happy to answer during question and answer period at the end of this presentation with time permitting. Second, if you'd like to follow the presentation slides on screen, along with using your phone or computer audio settings, simply download the material now. Go to your chat box in the GoToWebinar control panel to retrieve the link to today's presentation slides. As well, all participants will receive a follow-up email within 48 hours with a link to download the same materials. Next slide, please. To help you better understand the changes and actions you must take to adjust to the current trade and regulatory environment, we have four highly experienced experts from Costco Wholesale in Livingston. First, we welcome our co-host, Costco Wholesale Corporation. Costco is the third largest retailer in the world with over 100 million members and 879 locations and counting within 14 countries. I would like to take the opportunity to introduce one of the many team members from the Trade and Customs Compliance Department at Costco's home office. We have Export, Sanctions, and USMCA Supervisor, Jesse Whistler. Since 2011, Jesse has been actively involved in the customs brokerage industry. In November 2022, Jesse joined Costco, leveraging his experience in trade compliance, and recently seized the opportunity to manage the USMCA desk. Jesse is joined by Trenton Mayer, who is the export compliance specialist. Trenton facilitates suppliers through the USMCA verification process using OneSource and supports broader export compliance initiatives to ensure regulatory alignment across operations. The Costco team is joined by Tammy Borghi and Carolyn Peters from Livingston's Global Trade Management Consulting Group. Tammy is a licensed broker and project manager in Livingston's Southfield office. She's worked in the customs industry for over 40 years, specializing in customs brokerage and international trade activities. She's led CBSA and CBP NAFTA audits and is an ISO auditor. During Tammy's 23 years with Livingston, she's managed the Costco NAFTA verification process and USMCA verification. And finally, Carolyn has 33 years of customs brokerage experience and expertise in import operations, compliance, port entry, broker management, and customer audits. She's a licensed custom broker and a certified customs specialist. I now turn the floor over to Tammy to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Jennifer. And good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, as Jen said. Our agenda today is going to cover the Costco verification program, an overview of the training. Also, we're going to talk about the certification process, the actual certifying the USMCA, and we're going to talk about Livingston's role and how it works with Costco and yourself, because you're such a key piece of this successful program. For many of you, this is your multiple time attending. Thank you for joining us again. We hope you learn something new every year when we do this. And to the new suppliers, welcome. Please use that question and answer field, and we're also always available to work with you. It seems a little confusing. I promise you, I think we've made it easy enough that you all will get something out of it, and we look forward to working with all of you. So what's the training going to provide? We're going to talk about what is the verification program. This is very unique. It's something that Costco does always for their program, for their products. It protects you and protects them. Why does Costco require this? We're going to talk about that. Who conducts it? Who are all the parties? Who's considered the producer? This is a difficult question sometimes, so we're going to talk about it. What are the steps in utilizing the one source system? Costco's going to walk you through that and answer all your questions. What is the end-to-end process? We're looking forward to showing you not only what we require from you, but how we utilize it. We're going to talk about all our roles, Costco, Supplier, and Livingston. It's the three of us that make this successful. What documents and our information is required? How can you protect your confidentiality and proprietary information? It's definitely very important to Livingston and Costco, and we support that. And what are the timing requirements of the program? So with that, I'm going to turn this over now to, I believe, Jesse? Or is it Trenton?
Hi, it's Jesse. Hi.
That's what I
Thank
thought.
you, Tammy, for passing it over. This is Jesse. I'm the supervisor here at Costco Wholesale for the Export Sanctions and USMCA team. This slide is just kind of going over a flowchart of the USMCA process that we are covering today. Any repeat suppliers should be pretty familiar with this, but for those that are new, I'm going to go over this real quick. So the USMCA process actually starts internally with the Costco Mexico buying team. The Costco Mexico buyers that you guys are coordinating with will send the USMCA team here a request internally with the product number and some important information on it that we utilize to then go to the next step, which is sending you a USMCA solicitation in OneSource. That's also when we'll be requesting an additional form called an FOV form or possibly a questionnaire, depending on kind of the status of your item and if it's been previously verified in other years. Once my team sends the USMCA solicitation request, it goes to the third step, which is the suppliers. They will then take action in OneSource to upload a USMCA certificate. They can also upload a questionnaire document or the FOV form that we request there, or it can be emailed to us. Once the supplier uploads the USMCA certificate into OneSource, though, it gets passed back over to Costco's USMCA team, so my team. We review your submission in OneSource, looking at the certificate and making sure that it's accurate and lines up with kind of what we know of the product, like who the producer is, who our supplier is, and also looking over those additional forms, the FOV document. Once we have a accurate USMCA certificate and we have the FOV form, that is when we would pass your item and that certificate and form to Livingston's team, and then it's finally on their table to take action, which would be contacting you, the supplier. They will contact you based off of some information on the FOV form that will be covered later in the presentation. And once they're done working with you, they'll be contacting you directly to kind of navigate the verification process. But once that's done, Livingston will send a determination sheet back out to not only my team here at Costco, but also to you guys as the supplier, giving the final determination of eligible or not eligible, depending on how the verification process went. And that, in a nutshell, is the full verification process from start to finish, but we'll be going into more details later on in the presentation. Next slide, please. So this slide is just quickly going over the regulatory responsibilities of our suppliers. So this training only addresses Costco's business requirements for USMCA. The services provided by Livingston are for Costco's due diligence and are not to be used by suppliers as the sole verification method for eligibility claims. Any party making a USMCA declaration, including Costco suppliers, remains subject to requirements, my apologies, remain subject to the requirement to exercise reasonable care in declaring its goods eligible for USMCA under the agreement and the regulations implementing the agreement. Items that have not completed the verification process will be refused at the border. So if your item does not have USMCA on file, and it is attempted to be exported down to Mexico, it will be stopped until that is resolved. And one of the big points of this slide is to just reiterate that suppliers are not going through this verification process at Costco wholesale to confirm that their item is eligible. Suppliers should already know that their item is eligible for USMCA. And Livingston's process is just to do a double kind of verification for Costco's due diligence, since these items do get placed on Costco's USMCA certificate. So those are just some key reminders for this process. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Next slide. Next is Trenton. He will be going over the OneSource USMCA submission and frequently asked questions regarding that, specifically navigating how to upload your certificate into the portal and how to go about the FOV forms and things like that. So.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining today. So let's go ahead and get into it with the OneSource here. So when items are solicited to suppliers, an email is created within the OneSource system and sent to the USMCA contacts for said supplier. This email title, it's going to include the Costco department number, the Costco item number, the item description, your supplier account number, the USMCA year being solicited, and also the type of solicitation being sent, either the FOV or questionnaire form Jesse was talking about previously. The body of the email is going to include instructions, links to supplier resources for guidance, and links to blank forms suppliers need before their item can be sent to Livingston to begin the verification process. Suppliers should be able to complete their solicitation request by using the resources provided within the solicitation email. All necessary forms and instructions are provided there. Okay, and then go ahead on to the next slide. All right, so access to the system here. Suppliers do not have usernames or passwords. To access the solicitation, you must be listed as a contact in OneSource, and you can contact buying or us here at the USMCA desk if you are not listed as a contact. Email links cannot be forwarded to other parties. Access is specific to the initial receiver. The link in your solicitation is at the bottom of your solicitation email. Click or copy and paste for access. Next slide, please. Okay, clicking on the link at the bottom of your solicitation will take you to the supplier dashboard, which shows all of your USMCA solicitations completed or pending. So some of the highlighted things here, we have the solicitation title, we have the period begin date. Make sure you check that to make sure it's the correct year. You have your completed number of items, your total number of items, the percentage complete, the status, and the solicitation link. This will be the link you want to click to get to your solicitation. Next slide, please. Okay. So update required item information on the products tab that you can see here. This is where you will fill out the information for your product, which will be printed on the USMCA cert. Click the checkbox to select the item you want placed on the certificate. Select qualifying bubble, and then choose the preference criteria and country of origin, and this is where the item is manufactured. Suppliers cannot change the item number, description, or HS number in OneSource. Send an email to the USMCA Costco desk here, and we can work on that to get it corrected if there's any issues with that. Next slide, please. Okay, and then click attach other documents to upload the FOV form, questionnaire, underlying producer certs, or any other additional documentation you need. Then click update selected products to save. And next slide, please. Okay, OneSource lists, this is the parties tab here, which is the next tab there. The OneSource lists the importer premix information as importer by default. If Costco is not the exporter, also known as a dash direct item, be sure to update the exporter field to your company information. Use the certificate instructions and step-by-step guide if you're unsure how to complete your certificates. There's some examples below there. And then next slide, please. All right, when you are on the Parties tab, click Edit Party Information and a new window will pop up with additional tabs titled as Exporter Information, Importer, Producer, and Certifier. Update producer and certifier information or exporter and importer if required, and then click Save at the bottom of each box. Then you can close Edit Party Info box and select Certifier Party Type and save. Next slide, please. Okay, when completing the Certifier tab in OneSource, this person will need to be who signs the USMCA certificate before it is uploaded back into OneSource. This slide here provides a bit of guidance on who should be signing that certificate. So one thing to notice there, who should be answering the phone when custom calls. This is someone who usually understands how the item qualifies. You can use a digital or hand signature. Pretty often we see it's either a company officer, QA manager, customs compliance director. The sales team normally should redirect the signing to one of those above people if possible. Next slide. Okay, the signatures tab here. This should show the same person as the certifier tab. And again, we just want to make sure we save before proceeding there, and digital signatures are accepted with a timestamp. Next slide, please. All right, and then this is the Generate Documents tab. This next few slides will cover the steps required to upload your USMCA certificate back into OneSource. So when all steps have been completed successfully, the USMCA generation link will appear as a blue hyperlink on tab number 4. If this link is grayed out on the Products tab, make sure you check if the items were selected, marked as qualifying, and the signature date is no earlier than the upload date. Attachments will be listed in the previously submitted document box to the right. Next slide, please. Okay, the following steps provided for tab number 4, creating and uploading your USMCA certificate, must be completed anytime you are asked to correct and upload the document in OneSource. Underlying producer certificate generation is not supported in OneSource, and a downloadable template is available via the USMCA resource link. The USMCA certificate must be submitted on tab number 4 in OneSource, or us here at Costco will not be notified of any updates to your certificate. The supplier dashboard will either show a full or partial completion percentage depending how far it is completed. Next slide, please. All right, getting into the actual steps here. So when on tab number 4, step number 1 will be to click the Select All checkbox on tab number 4 there. And then step number 2, click the blue USMCA link to generate your certificate again. And then you can see 1 and 2 there will notate all of the steps on the screenshot below. Next slide, please. And then step number 3, we're going to download the form to provide a signature on the document. And then click the Select File box that now displays on the screen on tab number 4. Select the signed document from your desktop or wherever you saved it on your computer. And then click that checkbox that appears asking you to confirm the certificate is signed, making sure it actually is signed. And then last step, click the next link that now appears showing as Upload Documents. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is just some notes here on the underlying producer certificates. So if you are the supplier to Costco but do not produce your item, you must obtain an underlying USMCA certificate from the producer. The format for the producer's certificate should follow the below. So the certifier, that will be the producer. And then the producer obviously is going to be the producer. The exporter, that will be your company's name. So that is the company doing business directly with Costco. The importer will be Various or Importador Premix. The certifier checkbox, that needs to be completed by the producer, and the signee as well will be the producer. If the item is produced by more than one producer, you'll have some extra steps. You'll need to obtain an underlying producer certificate from each producer, And then also complete a various producer list, giving each producer's name, their production address, and list the Costco item number they produce. Next slide, please. Okay, kind of rounding it out here, we have some supplier resources here. So the Dropbox contains supplier resources, forms, and templates. Only upload documents into the OneSource portal, not Dropbox. Dropbox is just for our resources. We need all of the other actual items in the OneSource portal. The Dropbox is visible to all suppliers with viewer level access. And the USMCA resource dashboard is always available in the Costco USMCA email signature, along with the video tutorial on how to create the USMCA in OneSource and the annual supplier training video and slide deck. Once the USMCA training webinar links will be updated with this new version we're doing here today once that is available. Next, Livingston is going to discuss their role within the USMCA verification process. Next slide.
Okay, let's move on. Trenton started talking about the producer, and let's talk about it a little more because it does become very complicated under USMCA. Under NAFTA, it was a very different conversation. Under USMCA, the producer is that the person who's actually engaging in the production of the good. And production means all those things you're seeing: growing, cultivating, raising, mining, processing. Unfortunately, the USMCA does not define processing. A lot of times it's on a case by case. One thing we're seeing a lot of, and we wanted to touch on this year, was we see a lot of co-mans or co-manufacturers that the vendors have. You must apply the definition of producer to them. What are they doing for you? If they're just bottling for you, and we're going to talk more about wine here in a minute, they're not the producer. However, if they actually manufacture it for you, they are the producer, and you must go through all the processes like Trenton just described, is having them do a producer cert. You are just a certifier at that point. Another big thing is, another change under USMCA, the actual production location must be listed in the producer section of the cert. It used to be you could put your headquarters. That's no longer acceptable, unless, of course, it matches the true manufacturing facility address. Trenton also touched on, if you produce in multiple locations, you can use various, but you're going to provide us a various producer listing. You're going to provide that through the process that Trenton just talked about. Now, one thing, and we'll talk about it, is if you produce the same item at, say, 4 different facilities, we're not going to ask you to give us all the documents from every one of those 4 facilities. We're going to ask you to provide it for one of those facilities, with the understanding that if the customs authorities came in and said, okay, you've given the documents for your Detroit facility, I want to see it for your San Diego. In that case, you would be responsible for getting the same type of documents from that separate facility. And this one does get a little confusing. So if you ever have any questions on any of this, you are welcome to reach out to Livingston and we can clarify it for you. There's some commodity examples I wanted to talk about. Agricultural suppliers. You really don't meet the term processing when you're a grower and you're just harvesting. We may ask for separate documentation. We may ask for a list of all the growers. I'm not going to ask you to provide me all the documents for each one of your farmers or your growers. What we will do is have you provide us a list of all the growers, and then generally we'll ask for things like weighmaster certs or some kind of other document showing that it came from the field to your location. That is acceptable to customs, that will be acceptable to us. This next bullet, I want to make sure, there are certain fruits under the USMCA that regardless of what operations happen to them, they must come from the US, Canada, or Mexico. They must be grown there. And that's apricot, peaches, and pears. That is specifically written in the USMCA. I'm not sure why, but it's very clear. Wine. Wine production gets really interesting. Understand that under the USMCA, fermentation, wherever that's located, is the site of production. We also know there's a lot of blending. That's not usually considered production. The wine becomes wine at fermentation. So we'll talk about what documents prove that also. This gets interesting on what is considered production and not. Nuts. This gets very difficult. There are rulings that support this both ways. If you're roasting the nuts and you're adding seasoning, salt, any kind of seasoning, that's considered production and processing. If you just roast them and they're not seasoned, that is not considered processing. Shelling is production, pasteurizing is production, sorting and packaging is not. Cheese, shredding and slicing is processing. Packaging, again, is not. Wine we just talked about. Fermentation is, bottling is not. Seafood is another interesting one. Filleting and breading is considered processing and production. Merely freezing or packaging is not. Seasoning gets interesting. The drying of the seasons and the blending of them. In this case, blending is considered production when you have a multi-spice product, but the bottling is not, and we see that a lot. In that case, if you had a company that was drying your spices for you and then someone else was bottling it, it's wherever the product was dried. Other agricultural products, you really have to ask us about. You have to look at the rule of origin, but simply receiving, sorting, and packaging generally will not be processing. Those are ones you may want to look at one by one. So we're going to talk about solicitation. We started on that real quick. Trenton, in his process flow, talked about how Livingston will then solicit. So we want to provide you a little more detail on that and what happens when you start hearing from Livingston. We also provided a flow chart. This one gets a little more detailed. Through this flow chart that we put into the swim lanes, it clearly shows everybody's role. And it does, again, start with Costco. And you could see where your role is as a supplier. And you could also see that if you're not the producer, how you need to coordinate that with your actual producer. And then you see where Livingston comes in place and what we do and how we respond back to you. We will communicate a lot with you. And then how we finish that communication, hopefully with a successful determination sheet to yourself and to Costco. One of the things you will see on us is we will continuously communicate with you, and it's something we're looking for you to do back. It's key that you keep that communication up. I will tell you that we provide Costco daily metrics, and we actually are required to put in there no response from the supplier. So your buyer will know if you are not communicating with us on the process. So again, let's talk about solicitation. I think you've heard that the suppliers are responsible for reasonable care and qualifying your product. We certainly are not the ones who are qualifying it. You are. We're just, again, helping Costco with their due diligence. We will not start our solicitation process until you tell us the production date of a document availability. You wrote that on your FOB. So be careful when you fill those dates out, because if you tell us that the FOB document ready date is September 1st, I'm going to send you that first solicitation. Why is that key? Because you have 30 days from that first solicitation to submit all complete documentation to Livingston. There's no exceptions. Again, that communication that I'm having with Costco is telling them where we're at. Did you respond? Have you provided everything? Have we gone back to you asking for clarification or missing documents? Failure to complete this timely will result in not eligible insufficient documents determination, and you will be billed at the full rate. You then have to go through a whole new process of signing another FOB and starting the process all over again. Certainly not something you have the time for or that you want to. Remember, Jesse said, a shipment that shows up at the border without the verification will be turned away. So again, this is again looking at that FOV form, and those two areas that are highlighted in red tell us the date production starts, or if it's continuous, or the date that we can request the documents for you. You're driving that, so let us know. Now, we know there's exceptions that you anticipated production to start on a certain day. Things happen. Let us know. If your production date has been pushed back 30 days for circumstances, say the packaging wasn't ready, or a raw material, one of your components did not come in like you needed to know, it's important that you let us know and you let the Costco desk know, and we will work with you on that. In addition to document completion, there's some actions that we really, really wanted to talk about. Like, again, we talk about the 30-day timeline. It's strictly enforced. I say strictly. I did just talk about an example if the production had to be pushed back, but it's so key that you get this done. But more importantly than that, we've seen is your documents need to be very organized and labeled. I've seen unorganized documents include a single PDF with 150 pages. We are not going to unbundle that PDF. We're going to send you back an email, explain to you why we had to reject your submission of documents and ask you to reorganize them. Quite frankly, in the case of a customs SAT audit, there is no way that they would unbundle those for you. So we are acting just like a customs auditor would. You only have so many days on a customs audit to get documents back to them. We're just getting you prepared in case that ever happens. Okay, so let's start talking about the verification. I want to go through each one of the sections. Let's talk about what the objective is, what your responsibilities are, and go from there. So again, providing Costco a timely, complete verification. That's the suppliers and Livingston's mutual goal. So what we're looking for you to do is conduct your own qualification. We can't say this enough. Please don't send the documents to us. Please don't send a USMCA certified to Costco that your product qualifies if you have not gone through that process. If you're unsure how to qualify a product for USMCA, engage a third party. If you, within your own organization, don't have that level of expertise, and we don't expect everyone does. I will say that Livingston does work with Costco and their suppliers, that if you are interested in engaging us separately under a separate contract to work this for you, we certainly can help you do that. Just let us know. Always provide an accurate USMCA certificate. When Trenton's taking his first pass and reviewing it, he's looking at the right information. There are times that we will come back to you and say, as we look at your raw material documents, for example, we show they're going to Main Street. Your certificate shows that you're on Smith Street. It looks like your cert's wrong. So we will ask for a new cert. We'll work that through Trenton. Report the most accurate date on the FOV. Let's start off on a good foot here. Prepare for the solicitation. When you're filling out your FOV and your USMCA, you should be gathering all your documents anyways. Get them ready. We're going to show you at the end of this presentation. We actually review all the suppliers once a year and provide a scorecard, if you will, or a report card back to Costco on some of the suppliers and how good they were about getting us documents. Again, the advantage is I get the verification done quickly. You can get your product to the border and to your customer, Costco. Organize your documents, label them. Please, if you have multiple products and ingredients, label them. And so then I could quickly look at them. Retaining all of the documents, so critical. A year or so ago, Costco was notified that some of their suppliers were undergoing audit in Mexico for a product that was 4.5 years earlier imported. So the suppliers had to go back and get all those documents. Our suggestion is, whatever you send us, PDF it, keep it on your company's, your drive, have the year, the Costco item number, so you can just go and pull everything you need. It is not Livingston's responsibility to provide the customs auditors that information. Customs doesn't care what Livingston's role is in this. Remember, Costco does this for their own due diligence. Okay, here's our responsibilities. Livingston also has responsibilities to our mutual customer, Costco. So Livingston needs to provide you clear instructions. That's why we participate in this. We need to provide you some good definitions and examples. We also need to solicit 3 times within 15 days. We're reminding you. Please don't get too upset if you sent the documents in yesterday and today I sent you a reminder. There's an overlap there. I have suppliers very often very frustrated to say, well, wait a minute, I sent you these documents yesterday. Yes, but that's automated follow-up that we're doing until the product's closed. If you've sent it to us, thank you. Review the documents timely. Again, we're going to reject the document submission if they're not organized, and I'm not going to stop the 30-day clock. It will continue. We need to be available to communicate with you, and we certainly will do that all the time. We are happy to jump on a call with you. We have this happen all the time. We have suppliers who will say, can I go through a couple documents with you? I want to make sure I'm on the right path here. So this is what you're going to need. And we are happy to do that, especially new suppliers. We do that quite often, and it really, really helps everyone. I have contractual obligations to complete that verification and document whether it's eligible or not eligible. I will tell you that if we find a product not eligible according to the customs regulations, we will notify you first. We're not going to just automatically tell Costco. We're going to contact you and say, this is what we have found. Do we have all the information that you know of? Is there something that's incorrect on this bill of material? Do you have another document that you didn't provide to us? We're going to let you know first. And if it still doesn't qualify, then we're going to notify Costco that that product is not eligible for USMCA. And then the discussion happens between yourself and Costco. So what we're looking for then on solicitation. So upon receipt of our email, please get these documents as soon as possible, preferably within the first 5 days. Again, if you're prepared for it, you've filled out your FOV, start getting your documents together. Scan them and submit them, and we have a central mailbox for you. If they're too large, you can use a Google box or any other Dropbox. Just let us know on a response to us. Give us the location. If you have set up a password on it, please provide that. If the email file is very large, send multiple emails. Just label the emails 1 of 2, 2 of 2, so that we can confirm we've received them all. And we get this a lot because some of these documents are very, very large. Again, I can't stress it enough. Please have them organized, have them labeled. The raw material documents, we're going to talk about that more, are the most common challenges with organizing and labeling. An option is to put all your purchase orders together for every ingredient, all your commercial invoices. We've seen other people that will say, okay, this is ingredient A. I'm giving you a PDF that's got the purchase order, the commercial invoice, the proof of payment, the bill of lading. I'm going to give you that PDF of just that ingredient. That works wonderfully also. Again, we talked about unorganized, unlabeled documents that could take us hours to manipulate are going to be sent back to you. So please ensure all documents requested are included. This happens a lot. We'll send you a whole list of all the documents we need, and we'll get a portion of them. All that's going to happen is we're going through them, and then we have to stop. And we're going to send you a note back and say, okay, you're missing the commercial invoice for ingredient 2, 3, and 5. Please provide. Please do your own double check at the last minute. Make sure everything looks good. The document request list, and we will show you this, and we provide it to you in our solicitation. They're in categories. It's the company information, some product information, the raw materials, and the production records. We've put together a couple of tables with some detailed definitions to help you understand this. Again, this is where there are often confusion, and we're happy to help. We also have some specialized items that require additional documents. For example, some agricultural, some wine, dairy. I must stress, the list we're going to provide you should not be assumed to be inclusive to a customs audit. Customs has the authority and will ask for any other additional documents at any given time. But this, what we're providing, we're asking, is the typical to start an audit. So let's start getting into this. This is the company information. You can see, we also want to know, first of all, who's the company? Tell us about yourselves. We can accept sales product literatures. Point us to your website. If you have a great website and it shows who you are, what you do, some of your products, perfect. We just need to prove that you are who you are and the producer is the producer. A factory layout. Exact locations of each machine is not necessary. We see a lot of HACCP floor plans. We accept those too. The objective here, just like in the list of machines below, prove it that you're actually producing that product. Remember, USMCA is all about production within a USMCA territory. The list of machines. We've gotten concerns before that some of the machine names and models could be proprietary, and we understand that. Provide us a generic machine list. If you're doing a baked good, I'd expect to see an oven, maybe a blender, some nuts. I might see the sorters. Some products I might see a grinder. Just give us a generic machine list. That helps a lot. That's going to help us pass that first company information. That's usually the easiest one for everybody to pass. The product information. Okay, the bill of material. Let's talk about this. So I see bills of material that are extremely detailed that come out of an ERP system. I've seen them just handwritten on a very simple product. But no matter what, there must be a bill of material, and there are things that must be included. The country of origin for your ingredient. And you would get that from your supplier unless you are harvesting it yourself. It must have the harmonized tariff classification for each ingredient, even when US is the country of origin. If you qualify, you know that's needed because the rule of origin under USMCA actually looks at the classifications of the ingredients. When the rule of origin is what's called a regional value of content percentage, you must include a unit price for each ingredient and then a total. It needs to be it's per unit. So if you sell a bowl of something, I need to have each ingredient, the unit for that one bowl. Take us down to the lowest 1 unit amount. It's referred to as a costed bill of material. And we're going to talk about this in a few minutes. I understand how confidential that is, but we have some ways to protect you for that. The USMCA certificate of origin. This is not the one that you've provided Costco. This is the one that when you're doing your qualification, if your ingredient doesn't make the tariff shift to the rule of origin, you had to go to your supplier and ask for one. I need those. Possibly when you're not the supplier, and we talked about this, that you need to go get the information from the producer. Those are key to have. A couple of things to remember on that. Make sure that it's the current blanket period that we're qualifying your product for. Make sure it's a whole 12 months. A photo or a drawing. This is pretty wide open. I've gotten the artwork. I've seen photographs. Somehow show me that that's the product. I've had people just take pictures as it comes off the production line. Show me the item number it's on it. Just again, identify the product. Now the raw materials, and I will tell you this, and we'll spend a couple of minutes here, and this is where we're always happy to have more discussions. The customs auditors, again, want to prove that you manufactured or produced this product at a USMCA territory. So they do that by taking the bill of material and working their way backwards. Prove that you bought that ingredient. So we We do this by looking for a purchase order. Some companies don't have POs, okay. An invoice where you purchased that raw input, that raw ingredient. The bill of lading, getting that raw ingredient to your production site. One thing we need to talk about there. Often we see, which is a normal course of business, that your raw ingredients go to a warehouse or a cold storage. We're going to need a transfer document to get it to the production site. We've also seen suppliers say, well, you know, I just send my intercompany shuttle down the street to the warehouse to get things every day. And we don't do bills of lading. Well, how am I going to prove it got to the production site? Often we will see tally reports or an ERP inventory transfer report, something to show us it got there. I've seen pieces of paper where it's just, hey, here's today's pickup order, go get that. One comment right here, the cost, price, and quantity can be redacted. That is possible to do. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes, about what we can redact, but what we definitely need to keep. And then we need to tie these all out. That's what's so key. If you have one document that has a purchase order number on it, I need to see that purchase order number move to the invoice number. I need to see on the bill of lading that purchase order or that invoice number. Tie these out. The most important key one is the payable and the remittance. How did you pay your supplier for that raw ingredient? I need to tie it out. Generally, it's to the commercial invoice number. We can be very broad on these proofs of payment. A copy of receipt, accounting information, a screenshot, again, of your ERP or accounting system. Show me that. Now, you need this for every ingredient. Now, I will say that with one caveat. We have some products that have 20 ingredients. We will generally accept the top 5 to 7 most important ingredients, the main ingredients on this. Talk to us, give us a call, say, okay, I have a 20 product bill of material. I would like to suggest giving you these top 7. Will you agree? And we will. Knowing though that a customs auditor may require you to do all 20. But again, we're trying to be efficient here. We're trying to work with you. Okay, next one. Production records. This is probably one of the areas where we have the most, I don't want to say mistakes, the most things that are missing. Production documents are just that. Again, it's showing us that you actually made the product. We see things like batch sheets. We will see logs. We will see run reports. Just a quality record or packaging record will not be sufficient in an audit. Anybody can package. We need to see that you actually made that. The thing that's always, I shouldn't say always, I would say most of the time missed is the Costco item number must be included on it. Your system shows your item number. Generally, it won't have your customer's item number. Handwrite it on there for me. That's all you need to do. You can handwrite the Costco item number. In an audit, customs will ask you to prove that your system production report number maps to this Costco item number, but I'm sure you can do that. But for our verification, we need to be able to have that Costco item number. This is what we were talking about now. Let's start talking about confidentiality. Again, we understand. We're very, very careful on your information. We offer an NDA between yourselves and us. Costco and Livingston both appreciate it. We have come to an agreement. We will offer an NDA. It's a template we have. It's a standard one. We will send it to you upon your request and let you review it and let your legal team review it. If you review it and accept it completely, we will have it countersigned by our legal team or one of our executives and send it back to you. Where that protects you is if an audit happens and Costco is notified, I can't give Costco the documents, even if you sent me an email that said you have my approval to send these documents to Costco or to the government? The answer is no. I can only communicate with you. One other thing, we talked about a co-man a few minutes ago. Very often we will have what I call double NDAs. I'll have an NDA with you for your information, and I will have an NDA with your co-man, your producer. And again, I will keep their information confidential from you, and I will keep it confidential from Costco. We take confidentiality very, very seriously. We're very careful. The original solicitation email does have your Costco buyer on it. It's their information to see what's happening. But when replying to an email with product information, remove the Costco buyer. We want to protect your confidentiality, but we'll look for you to do that also. Again, ask for any time. If your legal team sees something in our NDA that they want to challenge, have them redline it, send it to us, and we'll send it to our legal team. I will tell you two things. It may take our legal team 2 to 3 weeks to come back to that and say, yes, I agree, or no, I do not, and have that conversation. So that's also important. All right, so this is what we're saying. When requested by the supplier, the template is completed. If it's not redlined, we'll countersign it and return it immediately. Again, our legal could take a minimum of 2 weeks to review. Once that NDA is in place, we update our supplier database with an indicator of NDA on file. We keep a signed copy of the NDA on our files. It remains in full force until the 5th anniversary of the last date upon confidential information disclosed to us. We did a complete NDA review in 2024, found some very old ones, contacted those suppliers that had the older versions and asked them if they would like to re-sign those. We also talked about, we can talk about more in a few minutes here about redactions. You can redact some information, even with an NDA. Again, we would protect you at at all costs. Customs will not allow you to do that. We will. Okay, so that's starting what our whole verification is talking about. I'm going to, one other thing I don't want to forget. We talked about that 30 days. When you request an NDA, we suspend the 30 days. We stop. We put the product in what we call suspense. Again, it notifies Costco. Our notes will say to them, NDA requested by the supplier, item put in suspense. Again, it affects how you can get your product to the border, but it also doesn't continue that 30-day. We do not challenge that 30-day when we have an NDA in place at all. All right, so that's where we are. And now at this point, I'd like to turn it over to my counterpart, Carolyn. Okay, Carolyn?
Thank you, Tammy. Good afternoon, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. So we are going to go into a little bit more detail about the verification and determination. So the verification process, again, like Tammy stated, has to be completed within 30 days from the date of the first solicitation is sent. Livingston will send a total of 3 solicitations. The second and third are automated and may be sent even if the documents have been sent and going through the review process. This is an automated process. So like Tammy said earlier, if you get a reminder email and you are going through the process with an auditor, please don't be upset. It's just an automated reminder. Metrics are provided to Costco daily during the annual recertification that provides the status of solicitation and verifications to Costco. The Costco buyers are on copy of these daily metrics. There are a few issues that can be used to suspend the 30 days. However, rejected or incomplete documents will not suspend the 30 days. The calendar keeps going on those. Requesting an NDA will extend the time. If you have a change to the original production date included on the FOV, Costco needs to be notified, and this will suspend the 30 days. We recommend that all documents are gathered before the FOV date to ensure that the 30 days are met. It is important for Costco suppliers to review carefully what will suspend the 30 days and what will not. This becomes especially critical during peak solicitation periods. Next slide, please. Turnaround time will depend a lot on the volume of items to verify. Multiple emails are much more desirable than one email with a large continuous PDF file. Livingston typically reviews documentation within 24 to 48 hours and will respond with either an email of questions or requesting additional documentation, or with the eligibility or not eligible determination. Completeness, organization of documents, and the presentation will all support a quicker review. Be sure to label all documents according to their type. For example, company information, production records, etc. Do not send one large PDF containing all of the documents. For the raw material documents, the best case is to combine the PO, commercial invoice, bill of lading, and proof of payment for each unique material listed on the bill of material into one PDF, and name the document the item from the BOM it coincides with. Presenting your documents in this way will definitely make the process go faster. Next slide, please. So the verification process, it's a two-step process at Livingston. We always wanted to ensure that we're compliant and that we have completed the verification correctly, and nothing was missed. The verification is completed by an auditor and then sent to a team for quality review. This is why sometimes you may get a follow-up email for additional clarification or documentation based on the senior consultant's review. Submit the requested documents by replying to the original solicitation email so that Livingston can easily identify the request. If you will notice that when you get that solicitation email, the subject line, there's a logic to it that tells us at Livingston what the documents apply to. If the documents are large, send multiple emails and number them. 1 of 2, 2 of 2. That way we know, we can confirm that we received all of the applicable emails. The solicitation email will include the Costco buyer. Be sure to remove the Costco buyer when you email the documents. If the product is deemed not eligible for a reason other than insufficient documents, Livingston will review the item with the supplier to ensure all documents were correctly submitted. Once the verification is complete, a determination sheet including all rationale for the determination and indication of the records supplied will be provided to the supplier and to Costco. Next slide, please. So this is just an example of what the determination sheet looks like. When you're going through the determination process, once you receive this determination sheet, then you know that the process is complete. If you do not have this determination sheet, the process is still ongoing. Next slide, please. So let's look at this document section by section. Here, we have the company documentation as outlined in these blue bullet points. By company, we mean producer. If the company information has not changed from the previous year, just let us know by an email and we can use the documents provided last year. As noted earlier in this presentation, we must confirm that the producer's name and address on the USMCA Certificate of Origin matches company documentation provided here. Next slide, please. The critical document in product information is the bill of material. We review the BOM to make sure that the applicable rule of origin is met. The bill of material must include the HTS and country of origin for all items, with the exception of packaging materials, unless otherwise instructed by Livingston or Costco. Remember, it is up to the supplier or a third party hired by the supplier to qualify the item for USMCA. Livingston confirms that the HTS codes shift, de minimis was used, or in a few cases, the regional value content has been applied correctly. If underlying certificates are required for non-shifting HTS codes, we will review those to make sure they are facially valid. Again, to reemphasize, we do not confirm whether the HTS codes at the 6-digit level for the materials are accurate or not, but whether they are facially plausible. If we see an ingredient that the HTS is very clearly incorrect, then we will work with the supplier on that. Drawings and photos are used to ensure that the information on the label, such as country of manufacturer, producer, etc., match up with the information provided on the documents. Next slide, please. Now, for those suppliers that are experienced in using USMCA certificates in other circumstances, the request for raw material documents may seem to be out of the ordinary. But the Mexican Customs Authority have requested such documents in the past during audits to confirm that the destination for the raw materials match the name and address of the producer on the USMCA certificate, and that the producer paid for the raw material. Next slide, please. Here we have an example of what we review and check for in the raw materials documents. The documents must tie to each other either by a PO or an invoice number. The bill of lading must show the delivered to the producer location showed on the USMCA Certificate of Origin. If a bill of lading is not used by your company, a document or ERP inventory report showing that the items were delivered to the production location can be used. The proof of payment is required to be tied to the shipment by the PO or invoice number. An ERP screenshot is acceptable. If the proof of payment is not available, the verification can be tentatively approved when a date of payable is provided to Livingston. Keep in mind, you will be required to send the proof of payment once it is made. The big point I want to make here is that with the raw material documentation, each document for a specific ingredient has to tie out. Typically, we see by a PO number, but we can work with you if you don't use PO numbers. We just have to be able to tie each of those required documents to a specific ingredient. Next slide, please. The production documents must tie to the Costco item, either from the records themselves or manually placed on the documentation. The production documents must also be recent, and ERP screenshots are acceptable. However, inventory or storage records are not adequate. Again, the address on the production records, if shown, must match what is on the documentation. The point here is on the production records, you can handwrite the Costco item number on it. We just have to we have to be able to tie that to the Costco item number. Next slide, please. So here are a few important reminders. Again, if you are not the producer, the raw material information will have to come from the actual producer. This can be sent to Livingston separately and under an NDA from your co-manufacturer, co-packer. Some information is allowed to be redacted. For example, raw material costing or supplier name. However, the supplier address and raw material description must be available. We have to be able to see that the documents are pertaining to a certain ingredient listed on the BOM. The raw material delivery address must match the producer address on the USMCA Certificate of Origin, with exceptions for cold storage or warehousing. In that case, if your ingredients are sent to a warehouse and then sent to the production location, we would then require transfer documents from that warehouse to the production location. Ultimately, we have to see each of those ingredients being delivered to the production location that is shown on the USMCA Certificate of Origin. Ensure raw material documents are provided for each component or ingredient on the BOM, except packaging. And we like to see that the documents are within 3 months. Some exceptions are allowed. If you have an ingredient that you buy in bulk and you purchased them a year ago, so it's the latest receipt that you received that order. If you put in the email that a note that the date is whatever the date is, and confirm that that was the last receipt of that ingredient. Underlying USMCA certificates of origin will be required where a component is produced in USMCA country but does not meet the required tariff shift under the USMCA rules of origin. Next slide, please. So as Tammy had mentioned earlier, at the end of what we call peak season for Costco, Livingston does an annual supplier review. We pull like one part per supplier, and we go through and we give it a grade basically. And the grades are either best, average, or opportunity for improvement. And on the screen shows the criteria that we use to make that determination. So for best, that means that Livingston has had to send 3 or less follow-up emails to in order to get the full documents required. These emails do not include the 3 solicitation emails. The item will have to be closed within the allowed 30 days. The documents are organized, And the knowledge, the supplier seems to be knowledgeable with USMCA and or the verification process. And then for average, it's 4 to 6 follow-up emails in order to get all of the documents required. Again, does not include solicitation. We give average a little bit of a buffer here, and we say that the item is closed within 35 days. That is definitely like the max that we can go. Communication with the Livingston team is absolutely vital. And if there is a reason that there is a delay, if you notify us, we do always try to work with you. The documents are organized or semi-organized. And again, still here, the knowledge of USMCA and our verification program is average. Items that take more than 6 follow-up emails in order to obtain all of the required documents, it's closed more than 35 days. The documents are unorganized or never received like the complete documents. Insufficient documents received and so therefore determined as not eligible. If the supplier is uncooperative and the knowledge of USMCA and or our verification program isn't very well, that would be an opportunity for improvement. And just to reiterate at this point, Livingston is willing to work with the supplier. So if you do have questions or you don't understand something, please reach out to your auditor. If you need a meeting set up, we're happy to do that. For 2024, for the 2024 peak period, which covered blanket year 2025, there were 349 supplier items response analyzed. Responses are graded as best, average, and opportunity for improvement. The results for 2020, next slide, please. Thank you, Tammy. The results for 2024 were pretty positive overall. We had 51.6% in the best category. That's amazing. Very good. 26.4 was average. That is still good. 22.1% had an opportunity for improvement. So some things that you as a supplier can do to increase that grade is attending this training is a very good step. Trying to learn more about the program and what is expected of you. Follow the instructions on the solicitation letters. When you receive that solicitation email from Livingston, follow what it's asking for and provide what is really needed. Work directly with Livingston on your questions. If you have new team members who are taking this on, contact us. We'd be happy to walk through the process and any questions you may have. Next slide, please. I now turn it over to Jennifer to explain how the question period will work. Next slide, please.
Great. Thank you, Carolyn and Tammy. We will now take a few minutes to answer some of the audience's questions with time permitting. And if we're unable to answer your question, you may email your question to Costco Supplier Training at livingstonintl.com, and we'll forward them to our presenters or to a Costco Livingston team member for their response. And Perma mentioned earlier in the webcast, within 48 hours, you will receive an email with a link to access a downloadable version of this PowerPoint presentation. Please watch for this email, or you can go now to your chat, and in that chat box is a link that you can download a real-time version. Carolyn, when you're ready, you may begin reading the questions to your co-presenters.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to start with this one because I think it will help multiple people. Tammy, I'm going to give this to you. Who is the producer if the exporter or the packing house and the grower are owned by the same company?
So we have an agricultural product. So we have a grower and a packer and an exporter. Are you doing anything else to it? If you're just merely packing it, it's generally going to be the grower. Now, often we find the packer owns the farms. That's going to be a question I'm going to ask you every time. Do you own the farms? Do you have a co-op with the farmers? If you do, then you are the producer. Those are some of the ones that get a little tricky. What's the relationship you have with the growers? And I'd be glad to have another conversation with that one. It's almost on a case by case.
Thank you, Tammy. Trenton and Jesse, I think this one will be for you. What about manufacturing aids? Do they need to go through the same documentation process?
I guess, to be honest, I would need more specification on what exactly that means. Because manufacturing, the only way a manufacturing aid would have to go through verification is if it's like an actual item that's somehow being supplied to Costco, right? We're getting our actual Costco item number verified, and then the detail of that product and the production and materials used, that is something that's reviewed with Livingston, but those are not actually technically going through the verification on its own, if that makes any sense. I could possibly need more kind of information provided. So any questions can also be sent to USMCA@Costco.com if that answer did not answer the question.
Thank you, Jesse. Okay, Tammy, this will be for you. I have an ingredient that hasn't cycled through my company's payment cycle. Can I use evidence it is in our payment queue instead of instead of the proof of payment?
Yes, we actually talked about this. That's quite often. We see the suppliers that you have a 90 or 120-day payment cycle, and we certainly don't want to stop the verification for that. We will ask you, when you tell us this ingredient has not been paid for yet, we'll ask you what day are you scheduled? Is it 120 days out? Is that April 1st? And we will conditionally verify that and say eligible pending payment records. And then every month we will start following up. Do you have the payment yet? Do you have the payment yet? Well, if you told us April 1st, on April 1st, I'm going to send you an email and say, could you tell us the status of this? And I do review that with the Costco team monthly to show them how much progress we're having and those suppliers that do cooperate. I will say this. Please don't use that just as an excuse, because I am going to follow up. And if we do have a supplier who just refuses to provide payable records eventually, then that's a conversation I'm going to have with Jesse and his team of, do we allow that supplier to have a conditional release next time? So yeah, absolutely. We see that happen all the time.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. This one's for you as well, Tammy. Will you only accept Livingston's NDA, or will you consider the NDA from the supplier's company?
Absolutely, and that's what I said. If you have your own NDA, I would like you to compare both of them, though. Have your legal team compare both, because it is a specially written NDA to support this program. I would go ahead and have legal check them both. We will consider yours, and we'll send it up to our legal team. That's when I said it takes a minimum of 2 weeks for our legal team to come back. And it's not uncommon for us to have both legal teams talk to each other on a call. So absolutely, we will definitely consider.
Thank you. This is a simple question, but I think that it is a very good question. Is it 30 calendar days or 30 business days?
Very good question. It is 30 calendar days, right? Isn't that what we do? 30 calendar days?
Yep.
Yeah, I
It's
did 30
30
calendar days.
calendar
It's 30
days.
calendar days.
Yep.
Now, remember we talked about how in the supplier analysis we said, well, we had some 35 days, and even though I had been pushing, hey, it's 30 days and 30 days, we don't look at holidays. We're not going to count the holidays. If we've got some formal holidays in there, we're not counting that. That's where, yes, our system has the 30-day calendar, but we're also looking at, all right, there's a little leeway there because Carolyn mentioned it a minute ago, communication is key. When we have suppliers that just basically, for lack of a better term, ghost us. I'm not as lenient on the 30 days when you get to 31. The challenge I also have is that on day 29 or day 30, you send me the first batch of documents and they're incomplete. I'm still going to give you a couple days, but I don't think I'm going to give you 37 or 40 because you had all 30 days to get us those documents. Again, talk to us. But one last time, you signed that FOV. You told us what day the documents would be ready. We're holding it to you.
Thank you, Tammy. How do we know which ingredients used in a product qualify for USMCA and which do not? Some ingredients used are imported from overseas and others are from US origin.
Okay, that's back to the USMCA rules of origin. You need to understand how to qualify a product under the USMCA regulations under what's called the rules of origin under General Note 11. It has nothing to do where it came from. You first have to look at the HTS classifications against your finished good classification. So I would say in that case, I would reach out to a third-party expert to help you qualify your product.
Thank you, Tammy.
Mhm.
If a supplier has gone through the FOV process in 2023 for a 2024 USMCA and renewed in 2025, do we need to go through another for review or complete the 2026 USMCA in one source?
Jesse, you want to talk about questionnaire?
Yeah, sure. So looking at this question, it is an item that could possibly be able to utilize that questionnaire form that was talked about a little bit. So essentially what can happen is if you have a product that you had verified for the 2025 blanket period, and say we send you a solicitation next month for 2026, if the 2025 verification was completed within the last, I believe we say 3 months or 4 months, then you do not have to have it go through the official verification again and have an FOV form and the fee associated, as long as nothing has changed with production. So if it's just the same item, you already had it verified a couple months ago, you're going for the new blanket period, you can do a questionnaire form, and not only does that let you skip the full verification process, it lets you skip the $4.99 fee. It's also way less time consuming, and it's utilized to allow you to confirm that nothing has changed with the product. And if that's the case, then yes, you just have to then supply the new certificate in one source once you get that 2026 request. So yeah.
Okay. Um, will there be more webinars as updates change?
Updates change. This process generally won't change unless there was something drastic that happened with USMCA. We are conducting this webinar again in August, so I'm not really sure what you mean by updates. If the process was to be completely changed, either for the Livingston part or the Costco part, yes, we would definitely update a supplier training.
Okay.
So Carolyn, for a time check, what do we have, 4 minutes left?
4 minutes, yes.
Right.
Um, Someone is asking, we have never seen the USMCA origin verification results list. We don't need it. The communication has been very clear, but should we ask for one? So the
This is
results
not,
of our annual review.
oh, the supplier, that is given to Costco. And Jesse, I'm not sure if you share that with the buying community.
Oh,
We do
yeah,
have it
that's
down to a supplier, so your buyer probably has it.
Yeah, that's something kind of like the specifics are shared internally, and then it's mainly so that our buying teams can work closely with the suppliers. So that's something that we would have kind of utilized more on our side. And then if there were any issues or concerns or just maybe some areas that need improvement, the buying teams would be in contact with those suppliers, or we would have just pushed for attendance for this webinar. So.
And you would
Um,
know if you had some struggles because you'd have had a lot of conversations with us.
That is also very true.
okay, so Tammy, we manufacture instant noodles. We make the seasoning pouches that are components of our finished products. Do we need USMCA certificates for the seasoning pouches?
Qualify your seasoning pouch. So what you would do is that's almost like a self-produced product on your bill of material, I'd assume. So you get all the raw ingredients, then you make your seasoning pouch. Um, and whether you put that on the noodles as part of your production or it's a packet within your noodle product, qualify that. Not only are you qualifying your end noodles, qualify your seasoning packet itself. And then you have a self-produced product. That's what we call flattening the bomb. It's something we can definitely go through with you. But yes, you can do that. You can qualify your seasoning package yourself. And then on your bill of material, it's going to show it's an eligible product made in the US, as long as you follow the rules of origin for it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Can we use the USMCA underlying template or any other template that you provided to send out to the supplier to complete and use it as a COO? Because suppliers do not provide COO certificates until the beginning of 2026, which would delay the process.
This is a
I think that
problem
would
that we
be
have.
for Costco to answer. Um, no, unfortunately, we don't accept any other forms of the USMCA certificate when it's for the official submission in OneSource. Um, that being said, it's due to the fact that the OneSource portal is actually used to literally accept your item onto Costco's certificate, and that OneSource portal is actually what is used to generate our certificate. So there is a true kind of background connection that's happening with your product number and the certificate you submit as the supplier in OneSource, and then what Costco does in the background with our certificate. So unfortunately, we would need the official certificate created in OneSource, and that's what has to be uploaded for the product supplied to us.
And Jesse, just to expand that also, if we are qualifying your product, you're qualifying your product, and you have an ingredient that doesn't tariff shift, and you need the underlying supplier certificate, and they won't provide it to you until 1/1/26. Unfortunately, if that product doesn't tariff shift and you can't de minimis it, that will preclude the verification from happening. And we see this a lot every year. All we can say is have a conversation with your suppliers and let them know you must have that in order to do your own qualification. Sometimes if you put a little pressure on your suppliers, it helps.
Okay,
So we
thank you,
just need,
Tammy and Jesse, for answering those questions. We are out of time, so I am going to turn it back over to Jennifer.
Great, thanks, Carolyn and team. I just wanted to flag something. There were a few audience members who mentioned that they couldn't access the link to download the presentation slides. I believe that that would be a situation that your company has a software, malware security software preventing you from downloading Livingston's marketing software, which is called Pardot. It's a marketing automation system where the PowerPoint is loaded. So what I've done is, for the time being, is offered a PDF version under handouts in your control panel. So if you want to grab that now before we close out, you'll be able to access. And then what I'll do is try to add a PDF as well for the final email that will go out within 48 hours to you. I'll provide both a link for those who have that access and a PDF for the others. Okay. If you could please go to the next slide for me, Tammy, that'd be great. Thank you. Sure. For more valuable insights on the USMCA agreement and trade policy changes, we welcome you to listen to our podcast called Get Ready for Origin Verification Requests. Livingston's trade experts, Jamie Adams and Jill Hurley, share their practical advice on how to respond and stay compliant under USMCA. It's a really great listen. So if you have the chance, when you get this deck, you can click that hyperlink that says listen to the podcast and you can play that out. It's about 40 minutes or so, so it's not too long. Play it while you're cooking, while you're driving, or share it with your team at a lunch and learn maybe. So it's a great listen. So also, one thing the compliance team wants us to flag here is that you should note the podcast focuses on US verifications and the process is very similar in Mexico. All right, next slide, please. For more valuable information on customs and trade issues, you can subscribe to begin receiving updates directly to your inbox by typing in your browser, livingston.com/subscribe. That's where you can get trades news articles from our e-newsletter called The Insider and for Livingston webinars. Next slide, please. It's been a pleasure to offer today's session and hope that you found the information useful. We invite you to contact our panelists with your questions and feedback. And this includes today's webinar. Thank you, Trenton, Jesse, Tammy, and Carolyn for highlighting very important regulatory and process updates for us. And on behalf of Livingston, we'd like to thank Costco for this opportunity. Thank you for your participation today, and bye for now.